Have you ever felt it? That haunting, unmistakable dissonance between who you really are and the version of you the world gets to see? It's not just sadness or dissatisfaction, it's a bone-deep ache, a spiritual dislocation. You move through life wearing a fascia version of you that has been carefully curated and constructed over years of trying to meet expectations, earn approval, and shield your truest essence from the scrutiny of others. And yet, beneath the polished exterior and socially acceptable smiles, lies something infinitely more vast and sacred. A cosmos of creativity, insight, emotional richness, and spiritual fire that the world barely glimpses, if at all. This isn't self-pity, it's a revelation, a truth echoed across generations by philosophers, mystics, and strategists alike. The great Niccolò Machiavelli captured this agony and power when he said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are." This is not mere politics, it is metaphysics. It is energetic law. We do not exist in a world that values essence, we exist in a world that rewards perception. And in such a world, projecting strength, even in moments of internal chaos, becomes not deception but survival. As we begin this journey together, I promise you one thing, you will not leave the same. You will learn how to read the room, track invisible power currents, and shape reality from the inside out. If something within you recognizes the truth in these words, declare it. Type, "I am awakening" in the comments. Let this be your signal to the universe that you are no longer here to be seen, you are here to be felt. Let us go back to the early 1500s, to a man whose name once commanded nations, Cesare Borgia. In 1503, he stood like a colossus over Italy, his name carried on winds of reverence and fear alike. He was Machiavelli's living prototype, a soldier, a ruler, a political strategist of divine charisma. He didn't just play the game of power, he redefined its rules. Kings envied him, armies followed him. His charisma was a force field, his presence a command. And yet, just 4 years later, he was dead, cast aside like a forgotten myth, his body rotting in a ditch, stripped of dignity, stripped of legacy. Why? He trusted. He believed in the illusion of loyalty. The very allies who once toasted his victories turned into architects of his destruction. This is the brutal truth that most never learn until it is too late. Betrayal does not arrive with thunder. It arrives with a handshake. It smiles. It affirms. It waits patiently for you to expose your vulnerability. And when you do, it strikes. Not all who orbit your light wish for you to shine. Some only wait for the moment your guard drops, your aura cracks, and they can slip a blade between your ribs. This is not cynicism, it is clarity. You are not paranoid when you learn to see power through energy, not words. In a world where wolves wear silk, perception is not optional, it is armor. Today, we do not study the prince as a relic of dusty academia. Today, we unlock it as a spiritual survival manual. Forget the lectures, forget the footnotes, you are not here for intellectual vanity. You are here to remember who you are beneath the noise, to return to the throne within you. Machiavelli did not merely write about politics, wrote about power frequencies, and he encoded a blueprint that the rulers of the world have followed ever since. Power is not about aggression. It is not about dominance. It is about the control of perception, the mastery of image, and the ability to project what must be seen, even when your soul is breaking apart within you. If you're waiting for fairness, for good intentions, for kind-hearted reciprocity, you will wait forever. The world rewards the bold, the silent, the perceptive. This is not to say you must become cold or cruel. Quite the opposite. You must become so energetically sovereign that no one can touch your essence without your permission. The game is always being played, whether you choose to play or not. Your awakening begins the moment you choose to see it. After today, you will no longer walk blindly into rooms. You will walk like a sovereign, reading energy, not language, sensing motives, not smiles. Now let me tell you about Michael, a man of immense light and brilliance, a Harvard-educated star, charismatic, intuitive, wildly competent. He was the one. Everyone said it. His energy filled rooms. His insights shaped boardroom strategy. He was rising fast, too fast. Then one day, in the pressure cooker of a high-stakes team meeting, Michael did what he thought was noble. He showed his heart. He said, "I could really use some help." A simple sentence, a human moment. But what Michael didn't know is that in rooms of influence, humanity is not always an asset, it is a liability, especially when you've not yet tested the souls around you. One woman, Sarah, offered him a kind smile that day. She nodded, encouraged. She made it a point to be seen by his side, but behind the scenes, she was moving like a shadow. She framed his plea for support as incompetence. She whispered concerns to upper management. She realigned perceptions, planting doubt like poison ivy, quiet, persistent, lethal. 2 months later, Michael was gone, fired, forgotten, and Sarah? Promoted. You see, the people around you do not need you to be broken to destroy you. They only need to believe you might be. They don't need facts, they need optics. If you bleed in front of wolves, you must not be surprised when they feed. Here is the first sacred rule of energetic sovereignty. Never bleed in front of wolves. This world, this energetic plane we move through, is not governed by fairness. It is governed by vibrations. Your survival, your influence, and even your safety are dictated not by what you feel, but by what others think you feel. You can be falling apart inside. You can be navigating heartbreak, loss, burnout, devastation, but what you project to the world must be strategically chosen, not emotionally leaked. Because perception is energy, and the energy of weakness, real or perceive, invites the predators to your doorstep. This doesn't mean you suppress your truth, it means you protect it. You process it privately, you cry with your sacred circle. You break down in places where the soil is fertile, where your soul can be safely held. But to the outer world, you are unwavering. You are rooted. You are fire wrapped in stillness. You are not here to be devoured. You are here to rule your own realm. I know this not from theory, but from trial by fire. At 27, I stood at the edge of ruin. My business, my life's work was collapsing. Investors were running. Clients evaporated. My bank account showed 347. My name was being erased from rooms I helped build. And still every day I dressed like royalty. I stood like certainty. I walked into every meeting, not with desperation, but with divine conviction. I spoke not from fear, but from destiny. I was a king, even while watching my empire burn. And then something remarkable happened. A final investor, a last hope, looked me in the eye and said, "Everyone thought you were finished, but I watched you in that last meeting. Your calm, your certainty was unnatural." That's when I knew. I doubled my investment that day. That moment changed my life, because it proved a truth I had long suspected. Perception doesn't just influence reality, it creates it. Your frequency shapes the material. Your image shapes your destiny. Machiavelli didn't invent this. He observed it. The wise live it. Understand this clearly. They are watching. Always. The moment you speak, the moment you post, the moment you break character, someone is assessing you. They are scanning your energy, measuring your strength, calculating your threat level, and when they see an opening, a fracture, a chink in your armor, they act. Not always out of malice, sometimes out of opportunity. But make no mistake, your perceived stability determines whether they move against you or align with you. So what do? You build your castle. You train your energy. You develop emotional discipline. This means no crying on social media, no venting to colleagues, no unguarded moments with people who have not earned access to your soft interior. You suffer in silence. You recover in private, you rebuild in the shadows. And when you re-emerge, you don't ask for validation, you command attention. Because the world listens to the one who speaks last, not loudest. Let this be the final truth you carry with you today. Power is not ego. Power is not cruelty. Power is energy, and energy is information. When you master the signals you send, you master the way the world receives you. When you no longer beg to be understood and instead command to be felt, you become untouchable. Not because you are ruthless, but because you are whole. Machiavelli's wisdom is not about manipulation, it is about mastery. And the ultimate mastery is of the self. When you become the calm in the storm, the mirror in the room, the frequency that others align to you will no longer fear betrayal, loss, or downfall. You will walk with the quiet power of someone who knows they can't take what I've built within. And from that place, unshakable, sovereign, magnetic, you will not just survive the theater of life, you will own the stage. Let me ask you a question. Who is the most powerful person in any given room? Think about it. It is rarely the one talking the most, the one boasting the loudest, or the one demanding the most attention. The true source of power is often found in the quietest corner. When Joseph Stalin attended the Allied conferences during World War II, seasoned American diplomats were deeply unnerved by his behavior. While Winston Churchill delivered grand, booming speeches and Franklin Roosevelt charmed the room with his wit and charisma, Stalin would simply sit. He would sit in an unnerving, profound silence, observing, his eyes missing nothing. He spoke very little, but when he did, every single person in that room listened with rapt attention, hanging on his every word. By the end of these historic conferences, it was often Stalin who walked away with exactly what he wanted. The more you talk, the more you reveal. The more you talk, the more weapons you hand to your enemies to use against you. If no one knows what you are truly thinking, they cannot anticipate your next move. They begin to fear what you might do. Your unpredictability becomes your greatest power. Your silence becomes your ultimate strategy. Think about the last argument you had. Who lost control first? Who started explaining themselves, defending their position, justifying their actions? That person lost the battle before they even finished their sentence. The next time you are challenged, the next time you feel that emotional surge to defend yourself, stop. Take 3 deep, conscious seconds before responding. In that sacred pause, reclaim your power. Lower your voice instead of raising it. Ask a question instead of making a statement. Let uncomfortable silences hang in the air. Watch as the power dynamic instantly and miraculously shifts in your favor. You must strip emotion from your decision-making. Emotional people are predictable, and predictable people are easy to trap. They make impulsive decisions based on fleeting feelings. They beg for forgiveness when they feel guilty. They lash out in anger when they feel hurt, and they regret their actions later. But that will not be you. Your goal is to replace the question, "How do I feel?" with the much more powerful question, "What does this achieve?" It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. This is perhaps one of Machiavelli's most quoted and most misunderstood teachings. Everyone quotes this line. Few understand its brutal, primordial truth. Julius Caesar was a beloved figure in Rome. He was loved by the people, loved by his soldiers, and loved, he thought, by his closest allies. And yet, he was stabbed 23 times on the floor of the Senate. But the knife that cut the deepest, the one that broke his spirit before it broke his body, was the one wielded by Brutuschi's friend, his protege, the man he trusted most. Caesar's final words were not a cry of pain or a curse of betrayal. They were a gasp of stunned recognition. "You too, my child." In that final, heartbreaking moment, Caesar finally understood the lesson that Machiavelli would later write for all of eternity. Loyalty is a beautiful word, a noble concept, until you awaken to the reality that it is most often used as a tool to control you. Loyalty is rarely pure. It is almost always transactional. People are not loyal to you, they are loyal to their interests, to their needs, to their own survival. The moment your value to them drops, the moment their interests no longer align with yours, their loyalty vanishes like a morning mist. Look at any corporate restructuring. The same colleagues who shared drinks and laughter with you on Friday are furiously updating their resumes on Saturday, ready and willing to take your position on Monday. Look at the stories of celebrities who fall from grace. The entourage that lived off their fame and fortune disappears the moment the spotlight dims. If you truly wish to be untouchable, you must erase the illusion that loyalty protects you. It doesn't. Power protects you. Stop building emotional bonds based on the flimsy hope of loyalty and start building leverage. Leverage is what keeps people in line. If someone respects you only because they like you, they will betray you the moment their feelings change. But if they respect you because they need you, or because they fear the consequences of crossing you, they will stay loyal even if they secretly hate your guts. That is the cold, hard truth of human dynamics that no one wants to admit. Power makes people behave. So how do you build this untouchable position? 1. Make yourself indispensable. Possess a skill, a knowledge, a connection that no one else has. Be the only one who can solve certain critical problems. 2. Control resources. Be the gatekeeper to things others need. Information, connections, opportunities. 3. Create a reputation for ruthless efficiency and follow-through. Cultivate an aura that makes people think twice before even considering a move against you. 4. Never reveal how much you need anyone. Dependence is a vulnerability that will always be exploited. I learned this when a business partner tried to push me out of my own company. While he was plotting in the open, I was quietly building deep, indispensable relationships with our 3 biggest clients. When he finally made his move, I simply let those clients know that I might be starting my own new venture soon. Within 48 hours, he was the one being asked to leave. I didn't threaten. I didn't argue. I activated my leverage. When you are betrayed, your first raw human instinct is to react immediately, to show them they hurt you, to make them pay. That is a trap. That is exactly what they expect. That is exactly what they want, because your emotional reaction confirms that they have power over you. In 1929, during the Chicago gang wars, 7 men from Bugs Moran's rival gang were lined up against a wall and executed in cold blood by Al Capone's men. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre shocked the city with its brutality, but what few remember is the strategic genius behind it. Capone wasn't even in Chicago that day. He was in Florida, publicly establishing an airtight alibi while his carefully selected team carried out a plan that had been months in the making. This act of vengeance was a response to an offense that had happened long before. He didn't react, he responded. And that response was calculated, timed, and utterly devastating. Hesitation is a luxury the powerful cannot afford, but impulse is the weapon your enemies want you to use. Because once you start feeling, you stop thinking. Machiavelli understood this long before modern psychology gave it names like amygdala hijack. He didn't romanticize revenge, he strategized it. When someone moves against you, 1. Act unfazed, even appreciative. 2. Use the time they think you're oblivious to gather information. 3. Identify their vulnerabilities and dependencies. 4. Wait for the perfect moment, when they feel safe and secure. 5. Then move decisively, with no emotion, no drama, just results. Your enemy must never know how much they affected you. If they believe they shook you, they have already won. But if they hit you, and you don't even flinch, if you respond with calm, cold precision, they begin to doubt their own power. That doubt becomes your greatest weapon. The most dangerous person in the room is never the one who speaks the loudest or stands in the spotlight. It is the one observing from the shadows, quietly controlling the flow of the room without ever saying a word. For decades, J. Edgar Hoover maintained an iron grip on American politics without ever holding an elected office. Presidents came and went, but Hoover remained untouchable. How? He collected secrets. He built files. He knew things about powerful people that they didn't want revealed. He never had to threaten them explicitly. His power was implied, atmospheric. Everyone knew that crossing him would be costly, yet he rarely had to demonstrate why. Visibility invites envy. Attention invites sabotage. But influence without exposure is invincibility. Your strength should never be on full display. It should be suspected, whispered about, but never confirmed. The key to ultimate power is control without credit. Let others wear the crown while you own the kingdom. Let them fight over titles and applause while you quietly direct the outcomes. This is how you stay undefeated, by being everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Everything I've shared with you today comes down to one core principle. In a world where most people operate on the turbulent seas of emotion, the strategist, the one who operates from a place of calm, calculated observation, always wins. The untouchables of this world don't just survive. They thrive because they understand the hidden laws that others refuse to see. 1. Perception creates reality. Manage how others see you. 2. Silence creates power. Speak less, observe more. 3. Loyalty is transactional. Build leverage, not just trust. 4. Reaction is weakness. Response is strength. 5. Visibility is vulnerability. Control from the shadows. That investor who saved my company? 3 years later, we sold that business for 8 figures. At the celebration dinner, he pulled me aside and said, "I never invested in your business. I invested in you. I invested in the way you carried yourself when everything was falling apart." That's when I knew you were untouchable. Machiavelli wasn't teaching people how to be cruel. He was teaching them how to survive in a world that already was. And his final lesson is this: the most powerful person isn't the one with the most weapons, the most money, or the most fame. It is the one who remains unaffected when others attempt to destroy them. The one who can smile when threatened, the one who can walk away when tempted, the one who can rise when crushed. That is what it means to be untouchable. And now, you know how.